just like to mention that tomorrow. So tomorrow, we're going to be celebrating the birthday of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who's turning 80 this year. And probably some of you have seen the birthday celebrations that have been being held all over the world, you know, both Buddhists and non-Buddhists. So if everyone could come by 9, we'll be starting at 9:50. So if you would like to come and bring a kata and to make an offering to the picture of His Holiness, and then if everyone could come just a few minutes early, we'll start around 9:55. And also, His Holiness will be giving, we'll be saying a few words about that tomorrow as well. We also will have birthday cake. with sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the four continents, and the sun and moon. As the Buddha field I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. To the lamas who possess the three kayas, I offer the outer, inner, and secret offerings, with my body, wealth, and all that is visible. Please grant me the supreme realization and enlightenment. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the two vehicles and the practices common to both, according to the dispositions and likewise the mental capacities of sentient beings. So this morning we spoke about the theory of bodhicitta, how the nature of bodhicitta, and now I thought it would be useful to talk about how to practice bodhicitta.
지당 가라서 당하시고 나시리 때문에 다 선진 중에 그 코베 중에도 통해가 상계기 때문에 또 닝지지기 엔지지 껴들래 중에래 껴야 공부 시행 해야 공부지 진주 공부디 제 선진 통도 삼바데 뭐봤습니 엔거스 코레라 중코와파 아니 최냠len체 근데 최이 콜로콜 선진적인 드라마디게 되더니 다 주버 찬주선 엔 대양 코레더니 이 냠네 타치네 찬슈버들 사이게 봐 어디나시네 가서 때문에 문주 찬주선이 시험에 맞세 엔디 냠람 냠슬라네 엔 텔라 찬슈비 베칼라 엔 사이게 봐 사이게 해서야지.
So, if we look at the example of the Buddha, then when the Buddha sees the suffering that sentient beings experience in samsara, compassion arises in his heart, and then he develops the wish, the intention to protect sentient beings from that suffering. So this wish to protect others from suffering, this wish to help others, that is aspiration bodhicitta. And so then when we look at the Buddha's life, when he saw the suffering, and developed this intention to protect others, then he actually went forth, left his home and became a mendicant. He gave up a samsaric lifestyle, and then started to practice the Dharma, and then eventually having reached enlightenment and then he turned the wheel of the Dharma. So that is action bodhicitta, or engaged or applied bodhicitta. So when the Buddha went forth and started to practice the Dharma, furthermore, he didn't leave it just at practicing the Dharma, but he actually brought that practice to full completion. So he perfected the practice, and one of the words for you can use the word that means enlightenment to express this idea of like complete perfection. So in a sense, enlightenment is completely perfecting a practice. That's what enlightenment is. And so when he had completely perfected, fully developed this practice, that's when he became a Buddha. So in terms of the Buddha's life story, we see these both aspiration and action bodhicitta there within his story. And so it's when we fully perfect and fully develop aspiration and action bodhicitta, that's when we become Buddhas. That's when we are enlightened.
the top view and the mena to the savage the Kanasna, Chanju Sem. One a Chanju Sem the Kindeski was the Savage the Kesati and Ninji, Tilet and Chamba. But did our Deva into Chanju Sem young Habaji Gobegala and the six of my imba Ranzutini, Chamba, Ninjine, Nyamlangina, Chine, Dilag Julia, Shitsune, and Titze and Barney, and Chanju Sem and what.
So, as we mentioned this morning, the root guru of Lord Jigten Sumgen, Pagmo Drupa, gave us this example of that loving kindness is like the earth or the soil, and then compassion is like water. And in that soil, then, the Bodhi tree, the tree of enlightenment, can grow. And eventually it bears the fruit of the three kayas, or the three Buddha bodies. So what this means is that if you want to develop these fruits, if you want to gain these fruits of the three Buddha bodies, the three kayas, then what is absolutely necessary, what you cannot do without, is the seed that produces those fruits. And so the seed that you have to plant in order to get those fruits, that seed is bodhicitta. And then where do you plant it? You plant it where that seed grows in compassion and loving kindness. So you need the soil and the water to nurture the seed. So if you're going to practice bodhicitta, perfectly meditating upon bodhicitta, and not just doing lip service, but really doing it fully, then loving kindness and compassion are the cause and the basis that you kind of upon which you build your practice of bodhicitta. So bodhicitta has to be there, at the fundamental level.
이 뒤에는 도망하니 참배 냠네 유고래 근데 저 참배 냠네 채나서 아니 참배 냠네 채배 가라니 참바스는 근데지 이 모디든 생각으로 엔 모디 지난번에 참바스 배가는 가서 균뒤 현도나 숨어다시 심제 탐제 대화의 대외 유된다 봐 참배선 심제 탐제 때문에 동해 규대 잡아 닝지선 다 참는 닝지 근데신데 해경교와 니가래야 캐시다 맹견도 버지 라바지기 뉴인다 잡다 버지 인교 심제 파ጆ고 된다가 직디 파조고 대화의 기부 요약을 통해 삼다야 직 미디 직디 미디 유래 동해다 나자 동해 교버지다 동해지냐나 그 동해들 태야 동해들 껴버치야 삼어 동해들 통이 배는 닝지기야 사바지 닝지는 때 셈나를 서로 주부로 저와 잠반의 셈나를 가와다 희와다 보지 이제 선나요 와 이거와 정말 소다 집어 봐시 심진지 한다 이둘 섬당이요
So, if we're going to practice in this way, then we first have to start with developing loving kindness. So the practice of bodhicitta starts with practicing loving kindness. And so I thought that that might be a good practice for us to focus on today. So if we're going to practice loving kindness, first we have to understand what loving kindness is. We have to know how to identify it. And we have to understand its essential nature. So normally, kind of commonly we say that loving kindness is the wish that may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. So this prayer that we recite, that line refers to loving kindness. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. Then the next line of the prayer says, may all sentient beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. And that's compassion. We give a slightly different definition to each, but if you really look at it, there's not a big difference between them. They're not really different things. They're two sides of the same coin. It's like one is the back of your hand and one is the palm of your hand. We can say this because both of them are focused on the other being. They're focused on other sentient beings. So in one case you are saying, may that person have happiness, may he have happiness. In the other case you're saying, may the suffering that he's experiencing, the sickness, the poverty, whatever it is, may he be free of that suffering, that hardship. So you're looking for a way to remove the suffering, you're looking for a way to protect the being from the suffering. But in both cases, you are focused on this other being. When we think about what these feel like, compassion is a kind of stronger, it has a kind of strong, it feels kind of stronger, a little bit, it moves you. Okay, a little bit wrathful.
Rough.
It's a little bit a rough, or like a coarse even feeling. Whereas loving kindness is something that is very joyful and much more peaceful. But again, both of them are focused on benefiting another, on what would help another sentient being.
then chambata tanda ranzu shendön de ya jigo di simje tanda dewa de dewe gyuden demal kyuji se di jigo gi di samla jigo thada chamba kom ya khabo di tanda ranzu gi chig deshe je de ba chamba chig deshe di chig gomya yo marwa ine di chowa de gom borda chambe chowa de kidi jo chig aso kowane ya ga thunda je de ba ine tanda gom gyade rangi gom nyamlen seyadi gom aso gom seyadi chebe kala di kharasne gom singe nyongsoru chig go da aso chowa chig da ngana ju gyur sorna ji ko da nyamnyo ji ko da di ini gom sege ba nyamlen se di be kala ane nyel chamba singe de sorna kide jo da di gom ko.
So if we want to develop loving kindness for others, then we have to meditate on loving kindness. But just kind of having a literal understanding of loving kindness and hearing like the words of, like a verbal definition of what loving kindness is, it's going to be difficult to meditate just based on that kind of verbal understanding.
Words like
intellectual. No. So like an intellectual understanding isn't really enough. So we take that intellectual understanding, but we actually have to know what loving kindness feels like. So you have to think, what does loving kindness feel like? And then what you're meditating on is is not the intellectual understanding of loving kindness, but the feeling of loving kindness. That's what you are cultivating in your meditation. Because you have to, when you do that, then you have a taste, a first-hand or experiential taste of loving kindness. And so when you are actually feeling loving kindness, that's when you start to have an experience. That's when you can say you've experienced loving kindness. And that's when you are really meditating on loving kindness. So in that case, then what does loving kindness feel like?
Logic kon dalam sa ya gundun dunia nujo gi gem mo buji nang be gi gem mo buji ya wo so song di na le chang bo gom dan thol ka me mo na so la nam re kha she gi ni nye la xian da le chang bo gom ba la so chang bo gom ba de xian che nga ya sang chang bo gom ba nga gom ba de nga la ka mo she wo de nya ya 근데 저 나가 먹고도가 제 저당에 삼바디 다디 심리직배기对吧 심리직배의 잘 카시 생각나라 아니 소소 직다 이제 심리테스 교육을 봐봐 심리 교육을 봐봐 심리 직배 토라이나 레니얼 소소 공야라 소바다 담마를 공나 디기 유사데스 이내 밑에만 타만 지 봐. 내가 다마지기 지나 고미야지나 아니 니 거라 니를 잡아 거려 오 근데 이미 니지고 엔 니현을 봐자 제 고미한테 봐.
So about 10 years ago in Dharamsala, there was a meeting of a large number of Western Dharma teachers who went to see His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And at this conference, they talked a lot about how to cultivate and how to meditate on loving kindness. So one of the things that came up in this discussion, one of the topics for the conference was meditating on loving kindness, and then one of the things that arose in the course of that discussion is the several people expressed the opinion that you should start meditating on loving kindness. You should start by developing loving kindness for yourself. So first you have to love yourself before you can love others. And so I think that this is definitely a viewpoint that comes out of psychology, in the field of psychology. And I think this is definitely love.
Definitely love.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Definitely. Might be.
That was me saying definitely. Anyway, it may be that this is an influence of psychology and or psychoanalysis. So, in psychology, it does seem that for people who have certain mental challenges, certain mental health challenges, that this is a good technique, that this is a way to start developing loving kindness. But I think for people who are in decent mental health, that it's better to just first focus on loving kindness itself, what the essence of loving kindness is, what the nature of loving kindness is itself, and then once you have can develop this loving kindness, you kind of right away start trying to apply it to others, developing loving kindness for others.
대야단 누구 개발지전 수고 단다 sabjuta tene kamumna chamchi ko mangusto chamdi shenda des mandarchi sewa jidang gi ozo mangche na lo la ta mazo komya suyo ba chabe mangche na de 나 개발지전 수고 당고도 그냥 얘는 참봤으니 근데 이 참보고는 어디도 뭐지 엔들은 식 뒤뒤지기 참바 지주 타나 케스 식도소 참바 지주 타나 케스나 답변아 아니 다 마치고 부지기에나 아마 아니 마디 빵을 부부디 예배가라 근데 부부디 안 견도래 부부디 타고 마디 부부를 빼 마스 저와치 보죠 부부디 맞을 자와시면 부부디 때가 부부디 에 당부디 줌은 미시게 무시게서 무시게서 당에 부부디 게모 게싱도 다 파소서 비자가 걸로 땡기로 강가다지 엔다 가마도 근데 이제 다치 가기로 다디 게모 게도 패스나 처배 닝접 커버죠 디네 부부디 시작하셨으면 안에 아마 스케줄 없으면 당에 부부디 카타도다 뜨다스 파키 수키시 땡기로 왔다 그것도 아마스 럽디 쳐다도 되베가나 안에 패스나 섬자로 코는데 줄라바 키 카게 다 담아다게 디 네갑데야 마치기 푸치를 쩨베 네갑 소화인데 줘라 소화죠 니가 소화 어디 참바 충분들 봐라 아니야 디모셔 뭐 참바 다 충분스다 다 참바 피워들다
So Lord Jigten Sumgön has, in his collected works, he has a number of like meditation instructions that are quite, where he presents his own unique meditation instructions. And so in most cases, when you read teachings about loving kindness, generally it says to start by meditating on loving kindness for your mother, and that you first develop loving kindness for your mother and then go from there. But according to Lord Jigten Sumgön and his kind of tradition, his style, is that you first learn how to identify loving kindness and really identify the essential nature of loving kindness. And that's like the first step in meditating on loving kindness. And so to do this, he says in a very short sentence, he says that loving kindness is the feeling that arises when you see a very lovely child, like a very cute child. So the example or the metaphor is like if you think about a mother who has only one child, and she's holding this baby on her lap, and you can see how much love she has for the baby, and you can see how much love the baby has for the mother, and the whole kind of image, everyone is just so happy and to be with each other. And then, when you think about when the baby smiles for the first time, or laughs for the first time, and that feeling that the mother has where she's just so excited that, oh look, now my child knows how to smile. And so then immediately, she goes and tells all her relatives and, just trying to get the kid to smile again and again. And, everyone is just so excited and so, so happy about this smiling. And then a few days later, the child says, Mama, and starts talking, then again, the whole thing, oh, my baby knows how to talk, and again, you're calling all the relatives and everyone's so excited and clapping and, kissing the kid. And that kind of, that delight and that feeling between a mother and her only child, that is what we call pure loving kindness. That's kind of an instant of pure, unadulterated loving kindness. So that's the example that we start with.
이 참바 충분히 세알 지당 말한주 배나 참바 자와지고 봐. 소수 토고 토몰 자와다고. 야마나 소수니 니도 자와다고. 더즈다 체나 아니 이까 비선나디 부부 지도기 제당의 선나디 참바 배 랑치기 라는 치외 아니 시험바 가능한 민게 아니 참바 소화되는 봐.
So then once you have kind of understood this, what this feeling of pure loving kindness feels like, then you start to kind of cultivate it for the people around you. So your friends and your spouse, your relatives, and you try to develop that same feeling, the kind of same feeling as this example of the.
This is 한번 중국이야, 봐. 나주 조금 tromola 자와 가부치야게 참바지어다. 이다 개발이어요. 이 랑티기 샴바 데베치 봐. 랑기 샴바 칩사 interesting 봐. 이든 데바이어 봐. 이는 단대기 마진 푸다 세베 내가 해라. 에는 디갑기 능 부기 능 수때는 메디갑데 기에 삼바디 가와 처와디 이는 디단 차단 만다. 봐. 참바 오늘 중부들이 했어요.
Sorry. So once the reason that this is such a pure experience of loving kindness is that in that moment the mother has no self-interest. She is focused entirely on the child, and so that makes that feeling, that emotion, very different from other types of love that we have. For instance, the love between spouses and other family members and so forth, because we almost always have this degree of self-interest involved in these other relationships. But at least in that one moment when the mother is just, looking at her child, she has this very pure, unadulterated experience of loving kindness and with completely no self-interest. And so that's why it's a special. That's why it's the proper place to start, and why it's a special experience that's different than other types of loving kindness.
저도 당부디 더 맞지 저 부담 어디 디다우기 내가 참배 모디 하고 싶은 말씀 같이 이 소와디 소소 선나야 폐고와 이 소와디 양수 디곰니 마지 부기 능수도 곰니 아니 디다 디 자외기 지단 가라서 다 선쟁 두고 통하면 키부리 힘이 부리 도서 가로 뒤로 파기 수교 때문에 제가 나서 저 빼양아버야 잡아주고도와 참바지 닝제부지 어디 소와도 참바로 어디다 보고 소와도 년이한테 패고 참바 셈티를 봐 디년은 뭐지 젠 디센나 야 슈참보시 패네 디 소와디 엔 미치글이냐라 아니 바다 샹을 빼고